All right, let's dive right in. We're starting with a really bold, simple statement from a personal essay. I am not an atheist. This is the opening line from a writer who goes by the Appalachian Gorilla, and it's the start of a deep personal journey. But as you're about to see, that's only half the story. And then, bam, he hits us with the other side of it. Right away, we're looking at a paradox, a real tension that's at the very heart of this whole piece. The author is basically carving out a space for himself right in between two of the biggest modern worldviews, organized religion and secular atheism. And this line? It just sets the stage perfectly. See, this isn't a story about someone losing their religion. According to him, it's about someone who never really felt like they had it to begin with, and now he's trying to figure out, well, what comes next? So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to follow along on this search for meaning. We'll break down how he deconstructs some really common beliefs and then tries to build his own framework, pretty much from scratch. This is the question, right? The one driving this entire essay. It's the question he's trying to answer for himself. And honestly, it's a question a lot of people are grappling with today. So how does he even start to tackle something so huge? Well, he starts by explaining what he doesn't believe. Before he can build anything new, he's got to clear the ground first. And he does that by taking a really critical look at the two main pillars of Western thought. You've got scientific rationalism on one side and his own inherited religion on the other. First up is science. Now, his argument isn't that science is bad. Not at all. It's just that it has its limits. He's saying it can't really measure or predict the deep, kind of irrational and fundamentally human things that drive our lives. You know, things like love, honor, or why we find something beautiful. Those things exist outside of what a spreadsheet or a formula can tell us. Okay, so after science, he turns that same critical eye towards his inherited faith, Christianity. And he asks this really direct question. He's not just trying to be provocative here. He's genuinely asking why this one specific religion, out of all the belief systems in all of human history, should be the only one with a claim to the truth. And he kind of looks at this through the lens of history. He thinks back to his ancestors and points out that they lived full, successful lives worshiping local pagan gods. Then he points out that they were forcibly converted, and since then, that new religion has been reinterpreted and changed countless times. For him, that whole history creates this huge sense of distance from the modern church. All right, so after he's torn down the things he doesn't accept, he starts to build something new. And he does it in this really methodical way, by defining his words first. He figures if you're going to build a worldview, you need a crystal clear vocabulary. First up is the word trust. To him, this isn't some leap in the dark. Nope. It's all about evidence. It's something that's earned over time through actions that are consistent and reliable. Kind of like how a bank earns the name trust, it has a proven track record. Then, building on that, you've got faith. He sees this as the next logical step. It's what you have when you don't have total proof, but you've got some good signs, some positive indicators. He compares it to hiring a builder. You've seen their past projects, they seem to know what they're doing, so you have faith they can build your house, even though you've never seen them do it with your own two eyes. And finally, we get to belief. And this is the big one, the real leap. According to his framework, belief is when you hold an idea with zero concrete evidence. It's based purely on a feeling, a gut instinct. It's totally beyond logic and proof. So now that he's got his vocabulary sorted out, he can finally get to the heart of it all, his own personal theology. He uses his idea of belief to describe his own concept of God, and it's one that he makes a point to contrast sharply with the mainstream institutional version. And he lays it out pretty starkly here, side by side. On the left, you've got what he calls the God y'all know, the universal God, who wants followers to be like sheep and puts the church first. But on the right is his God, one that values a specific lineage over a generic human family, one that prizes honor, and one that puts your own family way ahead of any institution. It's a really personal, almost tribal vision of God. And all of this personal idea of God, it all leads to his biggest point, his final argument. He thinks if faith and God are personal and tied to your own life and your own people, then religion itself should be local and deeply connected to a specific place. Okay, and he does not mince words here at all. Just a heads up, this is a direct quote from his essay. What he's arguing is that a one-size-fits-all universal religion just doesn't make logical sense because the needs of people in a desert are going to be fundamentally different from the needs of people in the tundra. I mean, he basically asks, how can one single set of rules and rituals actually work for a coastal fisherman and a desert nomad and someone living in a swamp? His answer is simple. It can't. He argues that religion should grow organically out of the land and the lifestyle of the people who live there. And this really gets to the core of his problem with it. He believes that when you try to make everyone children of God in one big human family, you end up erasing these specific, unique cultures and family lines that give people their identity. To him, that's not an accident of universalism. It's the whole point, and it's a point he completely rejects. And he sees this playing out right now, today. He says people are flocking back to the church because they're desperate for a real community, but he argues they're not going to find it. In his view, the modern church has just become too disconnected from the roots of its own community, and it's become, in his words, more like the moral arm of the United States government. So, after all that, all the tearing down and rebuilding, where does he land? Well, he ends up right back where he started, with that same raw honesty. He hasn't found a neat, tidy answer. He's just mapped out the messy territory of his own uncertainty, rejecting the labels that are out there, but not quite finding a new one for himself. And I think that's the big question his whole journey leaves us with, right? In a world full of massive global systems, from religion to politics to everything else, what does it even mean to try and build a faith that is truly personal, truly local, and truly your own? What do you lose, and what could you possibly gain? That's a question really worth thinking about.